Okay, I think I've just about got the live stream up and running. So, today we're going to do a cargo flight from London over to Dublin in a Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We're going to be using the PMDG 777 to do it. And we're going to have a play with ACARS from Virtual Flight Online. So, to do this, I've generated a Simbrief flight plan, but if we go and... Actually, I'll shut ACARS down first, so we'll do this again from scratch. If I go to airline.virtualflight.online, you can see here's the airline, and you can see there are lots of flights we can do, but there may not be a scheduled flight. So we're going to simulate a chartered flight. So we're going to get rid of the airline out of the way, and we're going to go and open ACARS directly. Okay, so we've got it just opened up, and we can go, and if we make this a little bit wider, we can say we want to do a new flight, and we'll use the world airline, and we'll go flight number, and we'll just make a number up. Actually, we know it's going to be 073, I think, from Simbrief. So we don't need a leg or a code. We're going to say in here it's a cargo charter flight, and we're going from EGSS to EIDW, I think it is, for Dublin. Let's just check that. Yeah, EIDW. And we can see on the Simbrief flight plan, we've actually got the route here. So we can go and steal the route. And again, this is just for record-keeping purposes. We can paste the route into ACARS. And we can say what aeroplane we're going to be using. So I can type into here, 77, and it will get the Boeing. And we can put our payload in to ACARS as well, just for record-keeping purposes again, 71969 kilograms. 71969. Okay, and then we can start the flight in ACARS. So ACARS is quite happy with that. We've got the simulator running. It knows we're on the ground down here at Stansted, so it's doing boarding and whatever. So we can just minimize ACARS, and we'll come back and have a look at it at the end of the flight. So from here on in, it's up to us. So this, I must admit, there is a selfish reason for me doing this. If we go and look in the airline and go and look at the dashboard, I am in the red. So I am deliberately, obviously I spend most of my time managing things, not actually flying with the airline. So I'm just going to come in, take a plane that I know carries a lot of cargo that I can make a lot of money off the flight. So I'm going to try it and see what happens and see how much money I get back. Cargo might make money, I don't know. Okay, so we need Simbrief up in front of us, and we're going to work through the checklist for the 777. So I'm using my own checklist, obviously, to do this. So Shift and 6 will take us overhead, and go and turn the batteries on. And then Shift and 9 will come down into the tablet, and we're going to go into ground operations, and we're going to request ground power to the aeroplane. Then Shift and 6. If I press the right keys on the keyboard, will take us back overhead, and we can go and put on the primary external power and the secondary external power to the aeroplane, and we can rotate the APU to start. Then we're going to turn ADIRU on, which is the inertial reference system, turn the window heats on, put the cabin utility on, and the emergency lights to armed, and cover the switch. And then we can go down into the cockpit. So I've already filed the flight plan with Simbrief. So we should be able to, we can see it's still dark in here. We'll have to wait a few moments to be able to use the system. We're getting ahead of the aeroplane. So we'll just wait for that to happen. And let's go and have a little look at the route in Navigraph then to see what we've got. So we're leaving Stansted obviously in a few minutes. We're going to fly across to Dublin. So let's go and have a look at our departure we're doing today. So it's the Utava 1R, or 1 Romeo departure. We're not going to use ATC today. We're just going to do this as a bit of interest to see what happens in ACARS. So I'm just putting switches back in the right places in my aeroplane here. Okay, so have we got anything booted up yet? No, not yet. Still waiting for systems to come alive in the aeroplane. Oh, here it comes. It'll go brighter in a moment as well. So the FMC is now coming on. If you just wait for it to... Well, we can go in here now anyway. Clear. Messages out. Go to pos init. Can we brighten this up anyway? Yeah, it just hasn't got full power yet. So give it a moment or two. You can hear noises happening in the aeroplane behind us. So let's pick up the GPS position into the scratch pad and drop it into the set inertial, and that's done that. Put the reference airport in as Echo Golf Sierra Sierra and drop that in. There we go, we've got power now. And then go into a routing, and we're going to do a route request. So before we do that, it might be a good idea to go over to the tablet, come into the EFB, request our data from Simbrief. So there's our flight, and you see it drawing off across the map there. And then we can go over to the weight and balance app, and we can initialize the aeroplane as to the Simbrief flight plan. So import from Simbrief so that our weights appear. And then come back out of here and go to the performance tool. So import from the OFP. We'll import this from the OFP as well. Import the weather, and we should be able to calculate. Oh, we need the airport elevation. That's interesting. Why hasn't that? Oh, we haven't put the runway in. So let's go and check that on the plan. Runway 22 we're taking off from, which will give us the rest of the information, and then we can calculate our speeds, which is good. Okay, so then we go shift 3, and we're on the page here, so we can do a route request with the Simbrief flight plan, and it loads in, and we can select the route. So it's requesting. It will come up saying load in a moment. So the request has been sent, so we'll wait a bit longer. Simulating the real world transmission times, there we go. So we can now load the plan. And here it comes into the airplane. Wait a bit longer, so we'll clear that message out. We'll clear the messages while we're waiting. And we've got an activate. Excellent. So we activate and execute, and now we can go and have a look at the rest of the plan. So we're doing the Utava 1 right, runway 22. Let's do this in the order it wants us to do it. So performance initialization first. So we're going to put the 0 fuel weight in, and that's all done. We can accept the initial data and go to thrust limit. That's all fine. Go to takeoff. We're going to go and look at the tablet to figure that out. So flaps 5, so shift 3 brings us back here. Flaps 5, and then calculate CG. We haven't set the runway we're taking off from yet, which is why that's not there, so let's go do that. So departure runway 22, and it was the Utava 1 Romeo for the departure. So then we'll execute that change, and then if we go into init refs now, it's got the speeds, so we can calculate them, or confirm them I should say. So takeoff, we've got flaps 5, yep, that's all done. So we've done the departure, we haven't done the approach into EIDW, so we got the bags 4L to 28 left. So ILS 28 left, and bags 4L. There we go, and execute that. Okay, so go and have a look at the legs page and skim through, see if we've got any discontinuities to deal with. Yeah, there is one between Obinu and Lapmo. Let's go and have a look at that on the chart and see what that is. Yeah, it's the final bit, look, into the approach. So I said ILS 28 left, didn't I? So interestingly, that has joined it up using the Obinu transition. If we go and have another look at that, then go. So we've got the arrival. ILS 28 left. Banks 4L. Okay, we'll leave it as it is for the moment, so we can just go and clear that out anyway. So from Obinu, it should go. Yeah, it goes straight to Lapmo. It's just a gap in the plan. That's fine. Okay, so that's all done. So we've done the routing, we've done the departure and arrival, we've done the performance initialization, we've checked the legs, so we can go overhead, turn the flight directors on, or not overhead, onto the mode control panel. Calibrate the altimeter, so I'll press comma to do that. Select the initial altitude. Now we've not got ATC today, so we're just going to go straight for our cruise altitude, which is 36,000 feet. Set the initial heading to the we're not going to need to because we're going to use LNav and VNav. So as soon as we turn the autopilot on, although we could do it, well, it's going to be 222 for runway 22. I just know it off the top of my head. We're going to set the indicated airspeed to be faster on the target. Although it's going to, VNav will kick in and it will go for it anyway, but you know, it will use the numbers in here. So you can see if we go and press top of legs, it's going for 250 knots immediately. But if we, for our target airspeed, we want to be below the 5-degree flap speed, which is 245. Yeah, so 200 is fine. Okay, so we've done all of that. Pre-select LNav, VNav, we've done that. Auto throttle is already armed. Just isn't on yet. It will go when we go full on the throttles. It will kick in automatically. Okay, navigation display is good. We may reduce the range to make it obvious when we're flying out on the departure. So auto brake goes to rejected takeoff. Transponder we don't need to deal with really because we're not using ATC, but the airplane may complain if we don't operate it properly. So we'll put it on standby for the moment. Put the beacon lights to on, ready to start the engines. And go and put the fuel pumps on. So did I configure the fuel for the airplane? I didn't, did I? So if you want to do that, what you can do is go into menu and go to PMDG. Or is it FS Actions? I can never remember where these things are. Fuel, here we go. Fuel. So we can either put it in exactly of what we want. So at the moment we've got 34896. What does this say? Block fuel 15843. So how does this... I've never really looked into this in too much detail in the airplane. Oh, there's a bug in this, look, where it doesn't come back to the pilot position easily. So we pulled these numbers in, but that doesn't set them. But this is only the calculator. If we go to the weight and balance app, so I imported it from Simbrief. So we've got takeoff weight, 0 fuel weight, landing weight, 0 fuel centre of gravity. But that hasn't actually done the fuel, has it? So if we do precise loading, forward cargo, aft cargo, bulk, so fuel 34,926, and this said block fuel 15,842, which is nowhere near. It's weird, isn't it? So that isn't pulling this in from Simbrief. I've never noticed that before. Anyway, so 34 is more than we need to get to. Yeah, you can see it's at 11% of what it could. This plane can fly halfway around the world, so a little hop over to Ireland is nothing for it. So we'll leave it with what it's got at the moment. That's fine. Okay, so shift 9, we can go over to the ground operations. We can release ground power now and ensure the parking brake is released. So we have to release the parking brake on my controller and hold the toe brakes on, and that will allow the parking brake to be released. Then we can press Alt and P, and that will push us back away from the terminal, or the cargo loading area in this case. So let's just check the volumes, see what the volumes are like. Yes, I've got it on minus 10% for the simulator or the computer volume versus me. So we'll see what it's going to do with pushback. Is it going to go the right way? Oh, do I need to do anything? Did I get rid of the chocks? Probably not. Remove the chocks, that will help, won't it? There we go, we're moving. And we're going the right way. Brilliant. So, if we go and have a nosy while this is doing the pushback, you will see things are being logged in ACARS. So we'll leave this running, and you'll see, if we were to zoom in, you can see the airplane moving, look. Now, has the sim had a bit of a turn here? Look, it's not drawing the truck. So I'm going to press Alt and P at that point and stop our pushback and put my parking brake back on. Let's just see if it's engaged it. Yes, it has engaged it. Right, now we're going to go and start the engines. So we're going to go overhead. I can press Shift and 6 so you get to see it neatly here. We're going to rotate the starter to start, and then down in the cockpit again, you should be able to see, yeah, the N2 is coming up, and you don't have to wait in this aeroplane. You can advance fuel control immediately, and it's automatic. You can put the kilograms in here to match if you really want to. I'm not going to. I've got enough fuel, basically. That's all I was worried about. I imagine in the real world, people, or these big jets, if they're doing short trips, will buy from the cheapest place. Or wherever the airline has a deal. So we've put the beacon light is on. We'll go and turn the... Well, actually, we won't do the taxi light until we actually start taxiing. Okay, so engine has started. You can see the switch up above has gone back to the middle. So we'll go and do the same for the left engine. Go and have a look outside while the engine's firing up. Look at the heat pouring out of the back. It's so clever, isn't it? The animations. So you can see this one's speeding up, look, it's changing animations as it goes. Okay, so if we look overhead, you'll see the switch has just rotated back round, so we'll look back at the top view and we're going to rotate the APU back to off. And we're going to go and put the hydraulic systems on now. So auto across the board. And then taxi light goes to on. And we can change the transponder mode to TA now if we really want to. Let's turn the parking brake off. Or we need to hold the toe brakes on to release the parking brake in this aeroplane. Ease the throttles forwards. And we're rolling. So let's go and turn head tracking on while we're rolling. So we'll go out to the middle. So APU is in cooldown at the moment. We have got the taxi light on, haven't we? Yeah. Remember, while we're taxiing, we can go and have a look at this. ACARS is watching. So it knows what phase we're in, it knows where we are, it's keeping an eye on us, and it's scoring us. This is the main fun bit about the Virtual Flight Online airline, is to get scored on what you do, and to just to be mindful of proper procedures and try to follow them. And there's loads of information on the website, Virtual Flight Online, about how the scoring works. We have disabled penalties for the lights, purely because some aeroplanes don't have the lights that ACARS expects them to have, and therefore you would get penalties all the time for not having, for example, strobes on and things like that. Not all aeroplanes have strobes, and it's a bit of a bone of contention with them, really. So we'll go a long way around, we'll follow the other guy out onto the runway. Got a big old 777 with a lot of cargo on board, so I want all the runway today. So on the way out, we can check the flaps are at 5. I'll check that in a moment, a bit more detail. Should we do it now? I think that's at 5. Yeah, it's been commanded. So you can see on the screen here, it says 5. They're just travelling. Takes the flaps a little while. So is this another human or is it an AI aeroplane that's here? We'll sit alongside. Oh, hello, someone's buzzing the airport. I've got multiplayer on. There's a mistake in the scenery for standstill at the moment, so we're going to be really careful about this. The thump. There's the thump over the step. And there's the back wheels coming over the step. Hopefully that hasn't triggered a G limit penalty. What I'll do is pull us to a stop here. I'm just going to go and press Control-Alt-N. That's an AI aeroplane, we're not going to worry about them. So, turn the parking brake back off. Roll out onto the runway. Remember, we have no ATC today to worry about. So, landing lights go on. Strobes go on. And we're going to go and check the checklist. I think this aeroplane has it. We'll check. Yeah, there we go. Look, checklist incomplete. It's just lit up. So let's go and do that. We'll turn Alt 7 off, turn the caution off. We know exactly what's caused it. Press checklist, and we've done that. We've done that. We've done that, and that. So that should be enough to make that go away. If we go normal menu, we did the pre-flight. We've done the before start. We've done before taxi. Yeah, we did that, and that. And before takeoff, we've done the flaps. So there we go. The warning's just gone away. So we can get rid of the checklist out of the way for the moment. We've done the flaps. We've done the lights. We've got TCAS showing up. We've got the radius rings on the navigation display. So, yeah, we're ready to go. Oh, it's complaining about the parking brake. I always forget that in this aeroplane. I always forget that it locks upwards unless you activate the toe brakes. There we go. And obviously opening the engines with the parking brake on will stress them, so it warns you. So, full throttle. Should have activated the auto throttle. Okay, we are heavy. That took a while to come off the ground. So gear up. Autopilot on. Why is the auto throttle probably won't arm below a certain altitude. There it goes. LNAV and VNAV have not kicked in either. They have now, look, and that's kicked off the target airspeed. We'll leave the flaps as they are for the moment. We're just keeping an eye on the speed as to when we need to raise them. It's trying to get to 240 knots, which is obviously the highest speed it can go with the flaps in their current configuration. So then the flaps up. It always interests me the way that, you know, the buttons you can command things with in given modes in different airplanes, even different models of the same family of airplanes are sometimes different. So although it's trying to get to 36,000 feet, it's obeying the constraints on the flight plan. So you can see them marked in there, look. And if you look on the legs page down here, you can see 250 knots. And 4,000 feet is the highest it can get to until it gets out past the turn, I would imagine. So it's following the standard instrument departure correctly. Auto brake has come off on its own, which is good. I guess just reading the comments there about the steps in some of the airport taxiways, I imagine the SOBO are well aware of it and they'll fix it on the next update. So as you can see, we're just a little bit above the target airspeed, below 10,000 feet. That might trigger an ACARS penalty, you know. So should we see what ACARS is saying so far? No, it's doing good. Look, it's quite happy with me so far. I'm not sure if it would tell us the penalties here or if they come in the log at the end. Obviously it hasn't got the exact route, it just knows the straight line from one end to the other. It doesn't draw it. But we'll leave that alone. if we go and have a look, actually I'll keep an eye on the aeroplane to make sure I do things correctly. So you've got 4,000 feet at Utava, and then it will climb out, I imagine. So it's just maintaining the standard instrument departure at the moment. So as we begin to climb, we will need to switch over barometric pressure to standard, which is straightforward. You just press the baro knobs, and then obviously 10,000 feet is the speed limitation. So the auto throttle should kick in. It's going to hold it at 250 until we get to 10,000 feet. So Shire Aviation is asking in the live stream comments, how long is the flight today? It's not very long, we're just going over to Dublin, so it shouldn't take too long. There should be an ETA, shouldn't there, on Simbrief for about an hour in the air. So flaps are already up. It should be a fairly straightforward flight, to be honest. As I said, half the interest with me doing this is to see if I can make a load of money on the airline to get me out of the red. So I'm doing basically taking 70 tons of stuff to Dublin. I've never really played with the numbers in the airline too much, so we'll see how I get on. Okay, we're coming through Utava, so we should see the aeroplane start climbing at this point, because the altitude restriction has gone away. Look, it's now going for Buzad at flight level 160. So if we increase the range out now, we can see there's Buzad, about 15 miles out in front of us. And the plane's going upstairs in a hurry. So at 6,000 feet we will change to standard barometric pressure, because that's the transition altitude for this area. If you want to know how I know that, you can go and look on the SID chart, or you could if it opens. There it goes. And it's up here somewhere. There it is, transition altitude 6,000. So we just come through 6,000. You should see that's got a box around it now. It's warning us. So we go and do that, and it's done it both sides. You can configure that in the PMDG aircraft, whether it's independent or not. Okay, so next thing for us to take account of is at 10,000 feet we need to take the landing lights off. So the taxi light can come off already. So just keeping an eye on this. Oh yeah, there's a standby altitude as well, which I always forget. So, can we just press it? Oh, it had already gone to standard. It had stayed in line with the others because they're synchronized. So 10,000 feet, we've just gone through. Landing lights off. I think ACARS gives you kind of a 500-foot leeway in terms of, checking your procedural stuff. Okay, let's go and put the progress page up on the second screen over here. We need to go to FMC first, don't we? Leave that up. Okay, so the aircraft is obviously favouring getting to a faster airspeed now. It's gone through 10,000 feet, so you can see the throttles are actually gunning it. And then it will turn that, once it gets to speed, it will lift the nose. And there it goes. And it's going to get us up to 36,000 feet in pretty short order now. Climbing at 3,500 feet a minute, that's not bad at all, is it? Should we have a look outside? It's flapping its wings. So this is the freighter variant of the 777, which is why it obviously has no windows. Hour-long flight, top of climb and top of descent are going to be on top of each other, probably pretty close. So if we zoom out on the navigation display, we'll see them. So top of climb is just after Timpo, and at top of descent, yeah, there's only about, I don't know, what's the range on this at the moment? That's 160 miles. So that makes that 40-mile bands. Yeah, they're only about 80 miles apart, aren't they? This aeroplane, though, like I said, is so powerful. So let's go and have a look on the map. You can see this obviously happening here. If we go and look on the airline and go and look on the live map and zoom out, you can see
traffic.
Is this going to be reacting to people nearby? Okay, to avoid any issues today, I'm going to put us on TA only. So we'll just ignore anybody near us. Is it TCAS actually off? Oh, I put it on the wrong setting. I rolled too far there with the mouse. There we go. TA only. Which means that we won't react. So that I can go off and do other things. So what I was going to do is come back in here. So you can see there's us. And you'll be able to see over time us go across the map towards Dublin. And if we scroll down within the airline, we can see our flight plan in here. So that's us there, isn't it? VW73. That was what I said in the ACARS program when we started. So if we go and click on that, it will show us obviously on the map. It zooms in on that route. If it had a Simbrief flight plan, which it doesn't, from the airline, or sorry, if it had a plan from the airline, it would show it on the map. Okay, we'll come back to there when we file the PIREP at the end. PIREP is a pilot report. And we'll see all the breakdown of everything we did on the way. So if we go and have a look in here, we can see us turning the landing lights off. Yeah, cross through 10,000, landing lights off. Oh, it detected a pause. I didn't pause it. 0.02 seconds. It's probably something to do with the sim. A stutter. A 0.2 second stutter. If we land beyond, I think it's 500 feet per minute, it will give us a penalty for landing. I can show you all the rules actually that ACARS is employing. If we go to Virtual Flight Online and we look at the airline and we look at scoring, you can see everything it does. So here's the rules for it's great, isn't it? So we've got beacon lights when the engines are running, strobe lights while in flight, landing lights should be off over 10,000 feet, taxi speed shouldn't exceed 30 knots, G-force should never exceed 2G, fuel should not be refilled while in flight, so no cheating, you get a penalty for it basically, overspeed warnings should not occur, bank angle should not exceed 60 degrees, pitch angle should not exceed 30, goes on and on, doesn't it? The aircraft should not overrun the runway or the taxiway, simulation rate should not be manipulated, slew should not be activated, indicated airspeed should not exceed 250 knots under 10,000 feet, gear and flaps should be configured before descending below 1500 AGL, in other words a stabilized approach. The stall warning should not be triggered, thrust reversers should not be used below 60 knots, landing speed should not exceed 500 feet a minute, landings should not exceed, I don't think we're actually employing that, but it may do it, so that'll be a soft landing, so it stops people from playing silly buggers basically. Pitch should not exceed 15 degrees on landing, that'll be a tail strike, and roll should not be 10 degrees on the runway, a wing strike. So yeah, you can see it's good, isn't it? So some guidance in here about what to do. So ACARS will be marking us on all those things during the flight. And there's no, it's just for fun. And it's free to join the airline, by the way, if you want to go and have a go at it. It's based on a system called PHPVMS. You saw the badge up there in the corner. I just reinstalled it this weekend to bring it in line so we can use it with 2024. So the way they've got around that, the earlier version of ACARS for PHPVMS used to scan the simulator scenery, but you can't do that anymore with 2024. So now the ACARS comes with the scenery database already integrated inside it. So Luca is just on about the airline and the tours. Unfortunately, we've had to pull the old tours back out of the system. Because I've removed the add-ons from the airline. I'm not going to get into it too much, but there was a lot of source code that I had to change in the old version of the airline to make it even work properly. And it took days of pouring through and reverse engineering the source code. Thankfully I'm a web developer, so I was able to do it. But I'm not willing to mangle it as much as we had in the past. So what we're doing for tours now, and I've pulled the old tours back out and slowly putting them back. The tours are available as flights, but it won't be checking which ones you've done or which order. They're just flights and you can go and do them. So for example, if I show you, if we go into the flights database in the airline now, if we search for, I've just made a new one, so Tour of Europe has the code TEU in them. If we find them, you can see them all in here now. Those are the legs, so you can go do them. Yeah, it doesn't check which aeroplane, they're not tied to aeroplanes. So you can come in and you can go and load one of these straight into ACARS, or take it out to Simbrief if you wish, so you can create a Simbrief flight plan. I'm not going to do it right now, but you can see, say we wanted to do this with the 77W, for example, which would be fine to do. It does the pre-filing for Simbrief in here for you, and then obviously if I click the button it will go talk to Simbrief, but you get to manipulate the pre-filing in whichever way you like. It's good, isn't it? And that will take it through and create a Simbrief flight plan, and then you can take that straight into ACARS if you so wish. So you can see there's the Simbrief airframe, so you can go and choose the Simbrief airframe that goes with your flight plan. I'm not going to get into it too much here, but it just shows there's tons of stuff in here to play around with, that sort of thing. So yeah, I've not tied any airframes to the tour legs, so you're free to choose any aeroplane available to you as a pilot in the airline. And obviously the only restriction around that is if you just joined the airline, you haven't got access to all of the airplanes yet, for the simple reason that there's a rank structure in the airline. It's the same for 2020 and 2024, to answer the questions there. So I've only put one new tour in so far, and that's a tour of Europe. So if we go to virtualflight.online.substack, which is the newsletter, you can see that the story's just gone out about this, and I've put the links in to all of the legs in the post about the European tour, and a nice little map of the tour. So you can choose whichever aeroplane you like for whichever leg you like. So you can go and have a look at a leg and figure out, okay, that one it starts off from Dublin and flies down to Stansted, look. And you can see it's got the METAR there, so whenever you come look, it will have the live METAR. And you can go and pick your aeroplane that you want to do that leg. Go and load up ACARS, pick the leg, and off you go. So you can load it there, look. But it's up to you to keep track of which legs you've done. Obviously you can go and look in PyReps and see what you've recently done, just as an aid memoir to yourself. Anyway, there you go. So tours are back in a fashion in the airline, but it doesn't track you anymore in terms of what you've done. There's no awards anymore. It's just for the fun of, you know, where am I going to fly today? Oh, I'll go and do a bit more of this tour, for example. And you can do the tours in whatever order you like. You know, you can mix doing a leg of one tour and a leg of another. It really doesn't care. There's only one tour at the moment, though. Anyway, that's what's going on with the airline. So we are at 34,000 feet. We're holding a 34. Why are we not climbing higher? Because it's in the flight plan. It's only taking it to 34, which is interesting. Should we go and have a look at Simbrief? There was nothing to do with limiting it, was there? So I've just told it, go to 36. And it's obviously obeying me, but that's bizarre. Why did it hold at 34? It should have had it in the programming from Simbrief. Just goes to show, doesn't it, that you do need to keep an eye on what the aeroplane's doing. So if we increase the range out, we should see top of descent is coming. It's about 50 miles from us. Obviously that's going to change. Based on us being at 36,000 feet, it was probably a bit further down range earlier. Okay, so Victor saying, hello from Spain. I don't speak English, but I enjoy your videos. Oh, don't apologise for that. I'm sure your English is much better than my Spanish. my Spanish is non-existent. I think I could probably just about ask for a beer. Is it Zarafeta or something like that? I can't remember. You see, I can't even remember the name for a beer. Por favor, if you please. My Spanish is almost non-existent. So, yeah, your English is almost certainly far better than my Spanish. I will admit, if I do a video visiting a foreign airport, say if somebody sent me an airport, I will go to Google Translate and attempt to get pronunciations right. I think it's just a respect thing, really. It's nice to try. And I think most people, you know, whatever nationality you are, will appreciate the effort, even if it's only a small effort. But yeah, the airline at virtualflight.online is completely free to join. I fund it as part of the things that I do to put something back into the flight sim community. So I founded Virtual Flight Online back when, just before 2020 came out, I think. It started off as just a blog, I think, and then it went to Tumblr for a while, and then started building a proper page. And the site is done with Google Sites. There's a Discord server for it. So if you go to Virtual Flight Online on the internet, it's got all the guidance and notes about everything in there. There's loads of group flights that are run at Virtual Flight Online on the Discord server. So if you go and look on their events, there are lots and lots of group flights. So yeah, I always forget actually, yeah, because YouTube does automatic translation on the transcript, doesn't it? So you can click the little button at the bottom of YouTube and get the subtitles for your given language. Okay, before we get anywhere near to the destination, let's go and have a look at the arrival into, oh, it's a good one, into Dublin. So it's going to do a step descent look as it goes around this kind of a DME arc, isn't it? Interesting. So is it descending? No, it's 8,000 feet, look, all the way around the curve. And then drops, so above 3,000 at Obinu, and then just dropping into the approach for 28 left. So at the moment we're over the top of Manchester by the look of it. If we go and have a look on LittleNavMap, yep, there's Manchester, and we've just passed the Manchester VOR. There's lots of AI aeroplanes around. If we go and look outside and turn labels on, we will no doubt see them. There's one. I'm just seeing if there's any at our altitude. There's one up there with the contrail behind him. The others must be below us. Oh yeah, look, there's a whole load of them down there on the airport. So we should see one of them over there. There he is. There's another one just off our nose at 16,000 feet. So we should see him down there. We may not see him in the simulator straight away. There's an EasyJet at 2,000 feet. So yeah, the separation. We'll see the United off of that side, I would imagine, or not. He's at 34, it's only 2,000 feet below us. Anyway, before we get too carried away, we're getting closer to top of descent. So, we can, and because we're using VNav, we can essentially go straight for 3,000 feet, and it will hold the restrictions on the way for us. So we'll wait until top of descent's a little bit closer, and then we'll dial in 3,000 feet. And press the altitude knob in to get it to start going there. So Deadly Claw is saying, how do you set up the ACARS? I'll show you in a moment. I'll just get top of descent going. Let's do it now. So if I dial it in, it won't actually do it yet. I'll have to press the altitude knob in to get it to do it. Let me do this first. It tells you in the instructions of the airline all about the profile for ACARS. So dialed in 3,000 feet, and I'm not going to tell it to descend just yet. We'll wait until we're a little bit closer. So about 7 or 8 miles out from top of descent right now. You can see there's an aeroplane over to our right. We're on TA only on purpose, by the way. So all that means is if something does come within our close range. Oh look, top of descent's moved out a little bit. The wind might have just changed. If an aeroplane gets close, it means the autopilot won't take evasive action if you're only in TA mode. If you're in TARA, the autopilot would take evasive action automatically. But because we're not using ATC and we're not really worried about collisions or anything being simulated accurately, we're not going to worry. Let's go and start this descent. So if we go and select it, so it's got the target and it's going to hold, look, at the moment. It may be manipulating the throttles. Yeah, they're coming back, look. And then it will start descending. But it won't descend as steeply as it might, because it's got a profile here, look. And we're going below the profile because we started descending early. But it will catch up with us, and then it will start descending as quickly as it can. So it's holding 1,000 feet a minute, look, because we descended early. But the profile will catch back up with us. You can see the little marker here. When it gets to the middle, we're crossing through the original descent profile. So it's flashing to warn us that we're way ahead. And the wind's changed again, look, it's just gone up a couple of knots, and that's altered it, and it's coming back at us and shooting all over the place, look, as the wind's moving around. And it's starting, it's coming back down to 1,000 feet a minute. It's jumping around a little bit, isn't it? Anyway, so we'll let that carry on with descent. So in ACARS, I can't show you without manipulating this, but what you can do is in the settings, you get this profile, so you can create a profile or you can just download one or choose one that's available to it. So when you're in the airline, if you go and look at airline.virtualflight and go to your pilot page, you can see in here somewhere, and I can't remember where it is, here we go, show the key. So you can either do that or you can click on ACARS config and it will download it. So we'll say OK, and you can see I've done it several times before while I was trying it. It will put a file there. If you put that in the folder it says when you click on ACARS config, put it in VM profiles, when you launch this, that's looking in that folder for those profiles. Yeah. Or you can just edit it and put the key in yourself, in which case you can come in here, click on show key and nick it and put it in there. But that just basically ties it to you, so then you can start using ACARS once it's got the API key. The URL is the airline URL. If you look at the instructions online under ACARS for airline.virtualflight, virtual flight online, go to the airline page and go to ACARS. It tells you everything you need to do. Okay. Click on the cog, there's the URL for the airline and the tells you about the API key. You also need a thing called the FSUIPC LVAR module in your community folder for it to work properly. So that's all detailed in the instructions. Okay, so we are descending and we're on the profile now, look. So it's matching it. We just need to keep an eye on airspeed. If it can't descend fast enough, again we've got a headwind, so we should have no problems. Sometimes if you get a tailwind, you need to help the aeroplane by throwing the spoilers out to get the aeroplane down. You know, depends, usually it's been predicted in advance looking at the winds, but if the winds change and the wind turns around, you might not end up descending fast enough because your rate over the ground is faster, if that makes sense. But if you've got a headwind involved, it's usually fine. So Al is saying, just a quick thank you for your startup procedures on the website for the Turbine Duke. Very easy to follow. Yep, I love the Turbine Duke. When it first came out, it was really fiddly to start up. I remember that. It became easier. They updated it and I think made it a little bit less finicky to get started. I'm hoping, I say, looking forward to the Black Square aeroplanes appearing in 2024. I think they're being completely rebuilt for it, but it'll be great to see them again because they've got really nice engine simulation, haven't they? They teach you quite a lot about managing turboprops. He's put a lot of effort into them, and they've got that lovely tablet system that shows you what's going on inside the engine, which is absolutely brilliant. So you can manage the temperatures and pressures and stuff. It's great fun. Okay, we're descending down through 26,000 feet at the moment. So when we get to 10,000 feet, the landing lights will have to come back on. It should manage airspeed for us, so it will drop to 250 knots as well to come through 10,000 feet. So let's have a look at that approach chart, see if we've got any speed restrictions. So yeah, we have, look, 220 knots at QDOM. And then, so it's quite a slow run in. Interesting. You see us, we're just coming along over here, look, and descending as we go. Let's have a look from outside. It's all very serene, isn't it? carrying 70 tons of something or other that will hopefully make us some money on the airline. Be interesting to see what happens. I've never really dug too much into it with the numbers game. I've programmed it all in behind the scenes, but I've never played with it really. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens. Should we have a look at ACARS and see what it's been reporting while we've been flying along? So if we go to the moving map, it's showing pauses happening. 0.1 of a second. There's obviously something in 2024. This is still in beta, by the way. So something in 2024 is making it think that the sim's being paused for 100th of a second. It's probably a communication error between ACARS and the sim. So we're not going to worry too much about it. See, look, it's loaded the rules up, so it's using the rules engine. It knows we're on approach. So we can see our... Oh, it's got no flight plan loaded in here, obviously because we didn't do an ACARS Simbrief integration. So it's just a free flight as far as this is concerned. Otherwise it would have way more information in ACARS about it. So if you do go via the Simbrief route via the airline and then load that into ACARS, you get a world more information. Okay. Dropping down to 20,000 feet. Should we go and find out what the transition altitude is and the weather in Dublin? So if we go and open the airport up and go and look at the weather. So it's all looking fine. 13 knots at the airfield. It's not too bad. From 250, so it's almost on our nose. And then what else are we going to look up? Transition altitude, that was it. So if we go and look on the ILS chart, that should have the transition altitude, and it's 5,000 feet, at which point we go to local barometric pressure, which will be 1008 hectopascals or 29.77 inches. Okay, shouldn't be long. Should we put the head tracking on? Can you click the pens or anything in this? Should we can try it? I've never tried it. Yes, you can. Oh my word. I think that was a board developer the day they did that, maybe. Okay, it's turned head tracking back off, coming down to 18,000 feet. So in the US this would be the point for the barometric pressure, but not in Europe. The transition altitude varies all over the place across Europe. Well, across the rest of the world really. It tends to be about 10,000 feet in Australia, I seem to remember. And yeah, anywhere 5,000 to 6,000 feet across most of UK and Ireland. Or the Republic of Ireland, I should say. So Northern Ireland is part of the UK. Okay, we're still on the profile, a little bit below it if anything. We're still haven't... So we'll see the deceleration happen when we get to 10,000 feet. Be fascinating to see how it manages it. You can see it here, look. It's going to go to 240 knots at Bagso, flight level 100, which is 10,000 feet, or below 10,000 feet. So that's why it wants to go to 240 knots. So there's Bagso there. So being such a big heavy aeroplane, we may have to use spoilers to help it decelerate. It's not a problem. I'm going to check something on my headset here. Just discovered there's a mute button. That's actually quite useful. So if somebody wants to walk into the room and talk to me, which sometimes does happen, I can just quickly flick a switch and they get the privacy. So we're getting closer to 10,000 feet, so it's going to have to start decelerating fairly soon to get to 250 knots. Target airspeed. It's interesting that it's not maintaining the target airspeed. So let's bring the range down so we can see this in a bit more detail. So it's looking at about 15 minutes to get into Dublin. It's estimating 1816 UTC. At the moment it's 1757. So we'll see how we go. Okay, coming down through 11,500 feet in a moment. So we should see the target airspeed drop to 250. And we also need to go and put the landing lights on, remember. Otherwise we'll get a penalty on ACARS. So ACARS doesn't mind how you fly the airplane. You could leave it on autopilot the whole time. It wouldn't really mind. It won't complain about it. It doesn't mind you pausing either. Okay, there goes the speed, the deceleration. So I'm going to help it. I've thrown the spoilers out. So you can see, actually it's not warning us. It may warn us if we leave the spoilers out for too long. I know the Airbuses do. Okay, so we've got it in the ballpark fairly quickly, and then it will be able to descend down and carry on down. So I'm just going to step away for a few minutes during descent. It won't be long. Okay, we're just descending down further, so you can see the speed has come through, spoilers are off, landing lights are on, so we're good to come down. It's looking for below 10,000 feet at Bagso. And it's going to do it by a whisker. There it goes, look. Okay, so remember it only has to get to 8,000 feet for the trip around these waypoints on the way in towards Dublin. So that's all fine. And then we'll start descending, if we go and refresh our memory, looking at the Navigraph chart for Bagso. We won't start descending until we leave the last turn at DW816. But then it's going to decelerate again, look, to 220 knots for Kerav in a little while. Or at least it should. It's not marked on here, although this is not showing speed constraints, is it? Can we show them? There we go. Oh, no, it still doesn't show us constraints. It's showing us the flight level constraints, but not the speed constraints. But obviously we can look here to see them. So it's dropping down to 8,000 feet. Let's see if the speed constraint kicks in then on here fairly soon. So as we leave this waypoint, go to the next, is it going to say 220 at Kerav? I think that's correct, isn't it? Max 220 knots at Kerav. Keep an eye on that target airspeed. Hasn't done it yet, has it? Maybe it thinks it doesn't have to yet. So it's only got, yeah, there it goes, look. Only has to drop 10 knots. So out in the cloud over there is Dublin. But we're doing this circuitous route to get there. You can see the headland there and the island. So let's have a look at that on the map. There's the headland. There's the island. So what's the island called? Can we see it here? Lambay is that? And the headland is... Now, does it have an actual name? Sutton North. Okay. So we have a tailwind at the moment, which may make decelerating fun. We're at 8,000 feet there and holding it for the route around here. If we increase the range, we can see the bit where we turn back in at DW 816, which is just coming into view if we remove the range now. You can see it's just coming, or it will when the navigation display spins round. We'll be able to see it. Okay, I'm busy eating while we're doing this, so I'm going to turn my microphone off so you don't get horrendous eating sounds over the channel. Okay, so it just struck me that we need to go and check the navigation radio configuration for the approach. So let's use Navigraph to do this, it's easier for you to see. So there's the chart, there's the ILS for Dublin for 28 left, sorry. Yeah, so ILS for 28 left, and we've got frequency 11135 and 278 degrees. So let's go and just check the configuration in the aeroplane. We'll go and look in navigation radios. ILS 11135 278. 11135 278. Yeah, so it matches. That's all I really wanted to go and look at. Go back to the legs page and we can get on with the flight. So we're only operating in TA mode already, so something else to take into consideration when you're on approach, if you're on autopilot, is to go to TA mode, but obviously then you need to look for other airplanes. It's more of a consideration if you're doing something like VATSIM, I guess, where you've got busy airspace and somebody might do a go-around or whatever. Or you might get somebody that's just, messing around in the sim. And if you've got multiplayer on, for example, then if they come near your aeroplane and you're on autopilot, it could kick in and turn away from them, or usually it will ascend or descend to avoid. At low altitudes I think it will ascend. There's rules around what it does on a near miss. So we need to drop to 3,000 feet. We've already commanded 3,000 feet, but VNav is holding us at 8,000 feet. So you can see, look, after DW816 it will drop through Obinu. So it's going to do it for us. So we just let the aeroplane do what it does. So I'm just looking at this. We've got a light one side but not the other. It's rather curious. Have I not... No, I've got the lights on. I wonder if it's broken. I wonder if we've blown a bulb. Okay, so we should start descending down to 3,000 feet. And we should see, have we got any further speed restrictions on the way through here? 220. No, it's the same speed restriction. So it is descending. Good. So we've got above 3,000 at Lapno, but by then we should pick up. So 2,500 feet at MaxEv. So let's go and program that directly. That should get us in range for the ILS, you see. Because what the game we're really playing here is to get the airplane low enough. There we go, look. So it will come down through Lapmo, get to 2,500 feet, which means you come in from below the glide slope. Otherwise you can't capture it. Whoops, I'm always doing that with Navigraph. Okay. It's funny, isn't it? We've got this. I've mentioned this several times recently. We've got this amazing simulator that simulates the world and looks incredible. And we spend all day looking at instruments if we're flying the big jets and not looking out the window. And following procedure and rules and... yeah, interesting. So there's a plane right in front of us. 1,500 feet below. if we press Control Alt N, we probably might see them. There it is. Ryanair. You can see it on the TCAS. That's why we're in TA mode. Otherwise, if you got close enough, our aeroplane would react. But we're not being super realistic here today. We just want to get the aeroplane in. So we've got pretty much the same screen on both sides at the moment, more by luck than judgment. So we're going to go and switch. As soon as we turn the corner, we'll switch over to approach mode on the left primary flight, navigation display. And that will show the symbology for the ILS. So it's all looking rather good so far. So somewhere out there in the cloud, or behind that cloud, is Dublin Airport. We're not a million miles away, it's over there, isn't it? Somewhere over there. So you can see there's the airport. It's about 14 miles out. Just dropping down through 4,500 feet. We have not changed the barometric pressure. Let's go and do that now. Whoops. So we need to check it. In here it was 29.77, which is correct. I'd already done that. So we're good now on the barometric pressure. Let's check this one as well. That's good as well. We're about to make the turn. The speed restriction, or the speed has just come down, so we need to start pushing the flaps out as well. So we just commanded 5 degrees on the flaps. And let's go to approach mode now on this display, and you can see there's the center line, there's the glide slope. Let's go for approach mode. So we come in from underneath the glide slope, so it should capture. So you can see it says glide slope up here on the primary flight display. It's got localizer as well. There's a few airplanes out in front of us. But that's the airport itself though that's picking those up in. So if we look in front of us now, we should see right in front of us, there's the runway. So, let's get the gear down. And go for the next stage of flaps. And we are fully configured now. Let's just check the lights. Now the gear is down, we'll put the taxi light on as well, so we get everything lit up like a Christmas tree. And we can see from outside, there's the runway, here's us. We still don't have a light on that side. I wonder if the bulb's blown or something. Interesting. So, in line with my usual escapades, I'm tempted to turn the autopilot off at this point and do it myself. So shall we do it? Because what's the fun of letting the computer do everything? And you don't build up the skills otherwise, do you? So we're going to disengage the autopilot. So this is me now, just give the wings a waggle. I'll leave the auto throttle in place so it can manage our airspeed on the way in. So we're just keeping an eye on the obviously what we can see out the window and the glide slope markers, which you can obviously see here as well. So that will tell us if we're off to the left or the right, or if we're above or below the glide slope. And my hand on the throttles ready to pull them back when we hit the, or not hit the runway, when we get to the runway. We're going a bit high, so I'm just going to drop the nose gently, pull us back down onto the glide slope. A little bit off to the left at the moment. There's wind on the nose, it's 28 knots. Should we put the head tracking on so we can actually have a look around on the way in?
1,000.
Going low.
Traffic.
So you can see the PAPI lights agree with what we're seeing. So let's get the nose up. Get back onto the... There we go, 2 reds and 2 whites on the PAPI lights, agrees with the ILS. There's somebody flying directly across our path. So the beeps are TCAS having a fit. It's also complaining we haven't done the landing checklist, but that's not a worry. So we're going high, so we're going to just dip the nose gently.
500.
We're down to 20 knots wind now.
400.
Going high again.
300.
Sync rate.
200. 100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
God, it's floating, isn't it? So just going for reverses. Are they working? I don't think they are. Certainly couldn't hear them. There may be a control configuration issue going on. So we come off the high speed exit. That floated for a long time, didn't it? Again, that's just practice with the aeroplane. And I left the auto throttles in. I'm usually tempted to turn the auto throttles off. So we're off the runway, so we can come off the landing lights and the strobes. Taxi lights are still on. Raised the spoilers and the flaps already. So we'll follow the other airplanes in. Let's turn the head tracking off while we're doing this so it stays fairly stable. So I think there was it a 30 knot limit on taxiing? So should we go and do the checklist just for something to do while we're taxiing? I think we're good. Checklist incomplete. It's obviously the next checklist after taxiing that is now complaining we haven't done. We just need to find somewhere to park, don't we? Oh dear, looks like there's been a bit of a sinkhole has happened in the road over there. Yeah, there's somebody flying aerobatics around the airport, isn't there? let's follow this guy, then at least we won't run into him. So if I come and park over here somewhere, just to get the aeroplane off the runway, because our real aim today is to go and have a look at the data. Yeah, let's just put our plane here. We don't really fit, do we? Okay, so in the aeroplane, just to get the engines off so we can go and switch ACARS off, we go into ground operations. Oh, we're going to turn the taxi light off first. And then we go into here, ground operations. Oh, we were already in here, weren't we? Set the chocks, request the ground power, and then overhead we can go and switch over to the ground power, and that means that we can then cut the engines without killing the aeroplane. And having done that, obviously you get a load of warnings come up. You can hear the engines spooling down, and we should see the option to end our flight. There we go, end flight has appeared on the margin. So we can put some notes in if we want. Test cargo flight went very well. And you can see the numbers there to do with the report that's going to be filed, and all of the information about the flight that will get filed with the PyRep. I got 100% score, very good. And file the flight. So it's filing it now with the airline. Give it a second to do it, and it's done it, success. So if we go back over to the airline now and go and have a look and go into my PyReps, you can see there we go, London Stansted to Dublin, and I can see in here how we did. Cargo with carrying that much cargo on board, and there's all the calculations. Takeoff and landing weights. So is this still not? Oh, it hasn't really changed the balance much, has it? So I need to have a look at that. But yeah, it's good, isn't it? You get to see, and you can see on the map as well, obviously, there was the direct route and there's the actual route we took. But yeah, we got 100% score. Nothing we didn't do anything wrong, or not that it scores you for anyway. Landing rate was 155. That was because we floated. It's a shame it can't do a penalty for not touching, or not, you know, not being on the target markers on the runway, because that would be cool if it could do that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that today. So that was the PMDG Boeing 777, but the more important bit was we were having a little test of ACARS to see how it works. Obviously you can see it's ready to go again now. Now we've filed our flight, we can go and put in our next flight in and go on our way. If you are going to send one straight from, we'll do one from here just to show you how this works. If we go, we're EIDW, aren't we? So if we go into flights and I type in EIDW Dublin and find what departs from EIDW. So we've got this one, there's a transport one here we can do that. See, the trouble is the ones that are for particular airlines will be for particular airframes. We really want a world one. I'm not sure if we've got any world ones. No, we haven't. That's a bit of a shame. But what we could do, so say we said create the Simbrief flight plan for this. This is where you'll get the problem. Only these aeroplanes are supposed to be doing this route. Yeah. So some of the routes are tied to specific aeroplanes. And because that's transport, it's a lot of the turboprops. So we've got some Class B aeroplanes here. So if we load this, oh sorry, no, cancel that. We'll do a Class B one. So from Dublin to Aberdeen, and we'll say we're going to do it in a Boeing. Obviously there's going to be a discrepancy here, but we'll just say we're in something else. An MD-88, for example. It won't be able to tell. So if we went to flight planning and we tell it, okay, we're in one of these for whatever reason, and we go and generate the flight plan from Simbrief, it will integrate with Simbrief. And this should update. There we go. And then we can load this straight into ACARS. Yeah. So if we go wallop and open it, if we were in the right aeroplane, which we're not, it loads ACARS and it's got the flight ready to go. Yeah. So then if we go into where are we? New flight. So it's got the business flight number 121. It's a scheduled passenger flight to Aberdeen. It's got the payload already done from the flight plan, so we can just do start flight. If we go and look in here, we've got the OFP, and if you look on the map, does it do the map yet? No, I think you have to start flight to get it to do the map. Should we do it? It's just, obviously I'll cancel it, but if we do start flight, so connecting to the sim, there we go. So it doesn't complain about you being in the wrong aeroplane type. That's on us. But then, yeah, you can see obviously on the map, and we're ready to go again. So that pulled in the flight plan, and it knows where it's going, and it's got all the payload directly from Simbrief, directly in here, so you don't have to fill it out. Anyway, I'm going to cancel that one. Are you sure you want to cancel it? Yes. And we can come back out. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that little story about how you can take the airline flights straight through. But that does highlight something, and you have to go and read the website about that the airline flights are tied to particular aeroplanes. There are multiple airlines in the airline system. There's transport, there's Express, which is like the A320s and things like that. There's World, which is the big long-range jets. And there's a Flying Club as well, which is all the GA stuff. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing the 777 once again. And I'll see you all again soon. Take care. Where's he going? See you soon. Take care.